Go home, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home, go hard, go home. Yeah, these championship rings on my hands now. In my head I'm top 10, yeah, that's hands down. You a squad, now you're looking man down. Funny how foes turn to friends now. Drive a race car like a Atari now. Call filling up, I need product again. Treat the business like a playground, might slide on you. Don't me wrong, might slide on you. Do a backflip, cause I'm mad rich. I'm the definition of what that is. Go hard, go home, go hard, go home, go hard, go home, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home.
Looks like I still got the music in the background. What's going on, Longhorn Nation? Welcome to the Fan Battle Podcast, or the Texas Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast, that is. I'm your boy, Tim Wayne. I got my other boy, my good friend, my compadre, my best friend, my bestie, my boy, Mr. Harish Nukala, a.k.a. Uncle Gandhi. What's happening?
What's good, man? How's it going?
Oh, man. Listen, before we got on the stream today, and as we was chopping it up, pre going live, there's a lot of news that popped off, within the last couple of hours. There's a lot of news. So, we're going to get, we'll cover that. But as always, you guys make sure that you guys make sure you follow us at thefanbattlesports.com. Again, I appreciate you guys adding me to the team. This is week 3. This is week
Episode 3, man.
Right before camp. So this is a kind of a calm before the storm. So how you feeling today? How you feeling today, Reese?
I wish I got a haircut like some people on our team.
I did not get a haircut, but I'm still rocking the fresh hat.
I was going to get food earlier, and I did see some cool Longhorn gear.
Okay.
I might be repping over the next few weeks as we get ready here.
Okay.
A polo that I really wanted. I've always wanted a Longhorn polo.
Oh, the Longhorn polo is a must. It's a must have.
And I need a new hat, but I'm more of a snapback kind of guy. I don't like the fitted hats.
I love the fitted hat. I'm a fitted hat guru.
So I'm kind of waiting for that.
Oh, there's plenty of that you can find. And of course, I can always direct you to the link. But also, as well as directing, let me also put in there that you guys need to make sure that you follow us on the Longhorn Fan Battle on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you guys, let us know how we're doing. We really appreciate the feedback. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us. And so, yeah. So let's go ahead and get right into it, man. We got some crazy stuff. What's going on in the news, man? Where do we want to start? Do we want to start off with Mr. Harbaugh, or do we want to start off with Coach Prime?
Here's the thing, because we are a current, owner / member of the Big 12. I want to start with Colorado, and I want to start off by saying that Colorado did not help put the Big 12 together. Because I did see the news sparkle earlier. It says somebody said former something about Colorado starting the Big. Colorado did not start the Big 12.
Right.
I want to make sure people know that.
Right.
The Big 12 is a conference that started by the Texas Longhorns.
Right.
And the Oklahoma Sooners.
Right.
The Southwest Conference fell apart.
Right.
The Southwest Conference fell apart when, Arkansas and those losers wanted to leave. I just want to make sure that's known. Jerry wanted to leave, so we decided to start our
own. See, you got to take a Dallas Cowboys jab, dog.
He's not a Dallas Cowboy in this podcast. He's an Arkansas Razorback. And today on this podcast,
so he's the enemy. Okay, I'm cool with that.
We don't like Jerry.
Right, I'm cool with that.
Trying to take our conference. Start with that, man. Having this. Let's start with those guys.
Okay, so for those who don't know, Colorado is moving, and I think this is I dropped a little nugget in the group chat prior to us going live, and that kind of sparked a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't really get to catch all of it because it was popping off so fast. But with Coach Prime, and mind you, they're not. It's not going to take them 3-4 years to get here. They're here in the conference next year as we make our exit to the SEC. So let me ask you this: Do you think that part of the reason why Colorado is rejoining the Big 12 is because of Texas and Oklahoma possibly, we're actually leaving. With the departure of Texas and Oklahoma, do you think that Colorado can potentially be the king or the big dog in the Big 12 once we depart from the Big 12 within itself?
I don't know. Like, maybe.
Okay.
Because the thing is and the thing that I find really interesting about I think a couple of weeks on episode 1 we talked about, Deion going to Colorado and all that stuff, right? The thing that's going to be really interesting to me is how successful Deion is this year in the Pac-12. Right? I think it's really if they win 6 or 7 games this year,
Right.
I think it'll give them some recruiting. I mean, having Deion already is going to give them recruiting momentum. I
Okay.
think from a marketing standpoint, it's a great move for Colorado.
Right.
Because the Pac-12 is gone. The Pac-12 is dead. Like let's just be honest. The Pac-12 is dead.
That was my next follow-up question with that.
I mean, we might as well go there, right? And I don't think it matters what the Pac-12. Oregon does not sell the Pac-12. I'm sorry. Oregon does not sell the Pac-12. I don't think they have the backing to keep the Pac-12 alive.
Right.
By themselves, right?
Right.
When you lose iconic schools like USC, UCLA, schools like that, you can't fix that. So I think the Pac-12 is dead, and essentially all those teams. I don't think Colorado is going to be the last team that comes to the Big 12.
Okay.
Now, will they make it in the Big 12? I think it's too early to say.
Okay. All right. So I guess my next question would be in regards to that is like, and I think you kind of like answered it already. What do you do with the remaining teams? Do you bring those teams over to the Big 12? Do you move these teams over to the Big 10? Do you take these teams and create like another superpower, like maybe try to bulk up the Mountain West, try to make the Mountain West a Power 5? Like what in this access or within this issue, what would you do if you were the commissioner of the Pac-12? What would you do?
You hope and pray and count your days.
Ouch. All right. That's straightforward. I
mean, literally, you hope, you pray, you count your days.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing else you can do at this point. Unless I'm trying to think of a school that could help save the Pac-12. Can you think of a school that can help save the Pac-12? That's not just Oregon. Because they can't do it themselves.
Right. I don't think that there is a team. I don't think that there.
What I could see happening, and this is a long shot, right? What I could see happening is maybe schools. I think the other conference is dead is the ACC. So maybe they combine to create a super conference. We'll call them the super conference of the left outs.
So you would what? I mean, so that would what would you do with Clemson and Florida State? What do you do with
those? Are the people that are leaving? I think Florida State ends up going to like the SEC. I think so that you can look because then you have Florida, right, and then I think maybe Miami ends up going to Clemson. Maybe I've heard rumors that Clemson wants to go to the SEC.
Okay.
I think that was something that was a thing a few years ago, and then maybe the Miami goes to the Big Ten. I don't know.
That's nasty. I wouldn't want to be in the Big Ten if I'm Miami. One, I would try to keep based upon this conversation that we're having right now, we know what the inevitable is. The inevitable is these conferences are going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
Like we know that eventually, and we've talked about it for years. I remember having this conversation with you when we were like young pups at EA, and we were talking about like the Big 12 not having a conference game.
Yeah.
And so like we didn't necessarily know what was going to happen. We knew eventually it was going to be inevitable, and that there would be an instance where these conferences that we know and love will eventually dissolve and just turn into Power 5 groups throughout the country, where the only thing I could think of that could possibly save it, I'll get back to that. I thought of one team, and that's Notre Dame. And you basically have to give them control of everything.
Notre Dame has to go. Notre Dame might get synced themselves into ACC if the ACCs can survive, because Notre Dame's not going to survive they'll survive from a money standpoint,
right?
But they're not going to make it. They're not going to make any college football playoff. Well, maybe a 12.
You don't think
Well,
Notre
maybe
Dame
a 12 team. Maybe a 12 team playoff.
I was gonna say maybe a 12
Maybe
team.
a
I
12
don't see
team.
them making one. I don't see them making one right now because again, their strength of schedule and the way they do things is just, like, just keep it honest, it's ass backwards.
They only care about themselves.
Right, and it's really hard to. And as much as they get the talent, because they get the talent out there in Notre Dame, I don't know how, but they get it.
No.
I just don't know how you can continue to want to be successful and still be an independent.
Yep.
You have the ACC that you can revitalize, you can bring life back in. You've got, basketball and other sports that are associated with the ACC conference. You could bolster that up and then say, "Hey, we're going to bring all of our sports here. We got all of our sports here already. We're going to go ahead and include football and revitalize that conference." You could go to the Pac-12, and then you could go to the Pac-12 and really just kind of be that big dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're winning the Pac-12 every year and you're playing against, Ohio States, the Michigans, the USCs, the UCLAs of the such, you could really do a lot. You could possibly take over.
That'd be them being in the Big Ten, though.
Well, the Big Ten plays Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
going to change too. I think like the champions don't get to go to the Rose Bowl anymore. I think the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, like the BCS New Year's Six bowls,
right,
are end up going to being the bowls that teams go to as they advance to the playoff.
Oh, so you got your New Year's Six,
and you go there based on seeding. So
right.
like,
so you got
the
your
number one seed might be at the Rose Bowl.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So you're saying that your New Year's Six bowls are going to be based on
playoffs,
where you're positioned within the playoff.
Correct.
Ooh.
And if you're the number one seed, you would play, in the row, but your top four seeds would be your home teams for those Rose Bowls
and your New Year's Day bowls.
And whoever they are, they would play closest to the bowl closest to them, right?
Right.
So if I'm Texas and I'm the number one seed,
you're going to
the Sugar Bowl.
Right.
Right? Because it's closest to me.
Right.
It's the closest to a home field advantage. Right.
That's actually really smart. That's actually very,
that we know nothing those committees do is smart. So that's probably not what's not going to happen. They're probably going to send Texas to freaking Canada to play or something like that. So
let's hope not. All right, let's get to Jim Harbaugh.
Sure.
My man is working with the NCAA to discuss his 4-game suspension. He was doing he did some violations. Now, I don't necessarily know all the details of the violations, but he lied about buying food for a couple of players, which we all know that that's not really necessarily true. But he didn't back down. This came up a couple months ago during the season, but he didn't back down from it. He was questioned about it. It kind of got blown over because at that time Michigan was whooping everybody, and then they throttled Ohio State, so it kind of got blown over. And the Harbaugh brothers, what they do best is they deflect. They're the king of deflecting.
They are.
So,
they're good at it too.
They're really, really good at it. So now it's down to the nitty-gritty where they're discussing a 4-game suspension. So I guess let me ask you this from a standpoint, and again, we're not Michigan fans, of course. You see what you see right here. We're horns all day, but does this possibly shape what could possibly happen down the future in December? We don't know, but we have to speculate that it could, because
maybe.
At any point in time, you go into a game and your guy, your head coach is not there. A number of things can go wrong, right? Yeah. So that's a big deal, and it's a 4-game suspension, and it's not going to be spread out. Well, you can work this game, and you can't work this game. It's going to be consecutive, so it's going to be a month that Jim Harbaugh is not going to be around. Michigan is not going to have their head coach. So I'm going to assume that it's going to be at the top of the year, of course. I don't know if he's going to appeal it. I don't know if he even has the time. Again, fall camp starts next week, guys. Like we're right here. I believe fall camp starts on the 2nd, and on the 4th we got NFL. Like it's right there. So what I'm hoping is that what my question is that how do you feel what do you feel that this can do with the impact of Michigan at its core? Like, do you think that they have a possibility of losing games? Because they do have a very favorable schedule. I did look into their schedule. It is very favorable to where I feel like the only two teams that they have an opportunity to lose is they always seem to struggle against Illinois, and they always seem to struggle. I mean, the Ohio State game, that is the game, right? So
yeah, but he's not missing that game, so I'm not worried about that.
Right, he's not right. So those games are not going to be missed, but there is a possibility for the hiccup within those first 4 games. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that there's a possibility that they can lose those first 4 games?
No. Here's their first 4 games. Not even close.
Okay.
No, zero, like negative 600% chance.
Okay. Give the audience the first schedule, please.
September 2nd, East Carolina. W.
Okay.
September 9th, UNLV. W.
Right.
September 16th, Bowling Green. W.
Okay.
September 23rd, Rutgers. W. Not missing any games.
Okay. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. I just, you never want to rule that.
Not missing any games. You're not missing. Yeah, he's good. Here's the thing: if this was the Rich Rodriguez Michigan team, and Jim Harbaugh missed, like they lost to Appalachian State, I might be like, all right, maybe something I'm concerned about.
Right.
I think Michigan is one of the best teams in the nations, and they have been for the last few years. I picked them to go to the playoff last year; they made it.
Yeah, you did.
I picked them to go to the playoff again this year, and I think they're going to blow through the Big Ten this year, just like I thought Ohio State was going to blow through the Big Ten 2 years ago, and they did. I think Michigan blows through.
I have a question. I have a question, but I want to wait until we discuss like who we want to win the championship game. So I'm just going to hold off on that.
Let's get that for a couple of weeks.
I'm gonna hold off on that because I really have a really good question, and I don't want to forget it. I'm gonna have to make sure I write it down after the show. So yeah. In other news, I mean, a bunch of kids. It's really been a kind of a slow week, guys, for the most part. There was a bunch of new uniforms that came out. I do like Illinois' new uniform.
Looks nice.
Illinois' uniform looks nice.
Man, I really want a black and orange Texas uniform, man. Give me the black and orange alternative uniforms. Come on, sir.
That is not going to happen.
I know.
There's too much money. There's too much money for them to stay what they are, right? For Texas to stay what they are. We have one of the most iconic uniforms in sports, period. Which, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, but it is. That burnt orange and that Longhorn symbol is around the world. It's renowned around the world, rather. So yeah, would I like an alternate uniform? I would. What I want to bring back, and I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember the Big 12 or the Texas versus Oklahoma shootout, the Red River shootout in 2010? Do you remember that? Do you remember where we were when we watched that game?
I didn't know you in 2010. Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
I know you for that long, bro.
Yeah, you did, bro. It's a long time.
That's crazy.
It's a long time. So
where were we in 2010? Set the stage for me here.
So this is when we had first really started just hanging out, and we went to Plucker. I think this was one of the first years where we really started going to Pluckers and inviting a group. Because at one point it was just me and you, and then people started finding out, oh, y'all be going to Pluckers? Why y'all going to Pluckers? And we're like, dog, it's got all these TVs and we can watch games all day and not have to go anywhere to watch these games. But they had a gold and white trim They had the gold trim around the letters.
I need to look at these.
Yeah, you got to look them up. They're beautiful uniforms. Oklahoma had their poo-poo uniforms, but Texas had a gold. They had the Oklahoma. I mean, I'm sorry. They had the burnt orange, and with the burnt
Oh
orange.
yeah. These uniforms, I do remember these
Right.
uniforms.
So they had the gold
Yes.
trim. They had the gold Longhorn. Right.
Yep.
They had the gold Longhorn. They had the gold Big 12 symbol. I want something like that. Maybe for, I don't know, senior night, I think would be great. The Red River Shootout would be great. Maybe even a big bowl game, like a New Year's. If we make it to a bowl, New Year's Six bowl game, I think that would be dope. But yeah, it's not over the top. It's just enough. It's just enough. Now the black, you know, I'm a fan of black. I got on a black t-shirt right now. I am a fan
just really like
of a
those.
blacked out uniform. I'm not gonna lie, I do like Oklahoma State's uniforms when they go black, when they black out their uniforms. By the way, Oklahoma State got a new uniform. They went back to old school like 80s, but it's got a touch of like 2023. I think is really, really nice. They got away from that cowboy, like the old leather looking, tumbled leather looking look. With the, like, right, they got rid of that, so that's gone. That stuff that was on the collar, that's gone.
Can't wait to beat them by 30 in those uniforms. This can be awesome.
Hey man, I don't think Oklahoma State's gonna do well this year either. But Mike Gundy,
he's gonna yell at somebody though. He's gonna tell somebody.
He pulls some stuff.
Tell somebody that he's 60 this year.
Wow, he's not 40 no more.
Not 40 no more, man. He's a man. He's 60.
Oh man, he still got that mullet too. You gotta let that go, bro. But anyway. Enough about the uniforms. Let's get into some recruiting updates. Harish, hit us with some recruiting updates. I know we got some regarding Texas basketball and Texas football. We had news come down the pike a couple of days ago, so let's fill them in on that.
Yeah, we can start with Texas football. So 4-star. This is tough because this is a tough recruiting battle, right?
Right.
4-star cornerback from Lancaster. I just drew a blank on his name. It's the cornerback from Lancaster.
Right.
He basically committed to Clemson over Texas.
Right.
Now the interesting thing about this is that he was Texas for most of his recruiting.
Right.
I don't know what happened, but something happened like late. I don't want to say last week. Corian Gibson. That's
Corian Gibson. Right.
I don't know if it was like last week or late last week. It's almost like 48 hours before there was something that came out that he was leaning towards Clemson. But I didn't read a reason why, but he picked Clemson over Texas. So I don't know if that's a big loss for Texas per se, right? It sucks. And you know, recruiting is still going to keep going on for a little bit. I think, you know, one thing we learn about recruiting nowadays, because there's 2 recruiting periods, is recruiting never stops. Anthony Hill committed to A&M before the season started last year. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I
remember. People all up in arms because he was the big running back. He was the big linebacker at the time, 5-star linebacker, right in from your own backyard. And he decommitted at the end of the season.
Right.
And he commits right before the second signing period to Texas.
Right.
So if we need him to come to Texas, Texas again, it's all about Texas winning on the football field. Sark can recruit. He shows that he can coach. He shows that, but now he needs to show that he can develop. Quinn Ewers developing is going to be really important for him this year.
Right.
So Corian Gibson heads on over to Clemson, and that'll be a big loss. On the basketball end, you know, Terry's quietly been putting together a very good basketball team.
Yes, he has.
He's got himself a big. He got that big from Virginia.
Right.
And then over the weekend, he commits Devin Pryor, who's a 3-star small forward out of Texas, the 20th ranked recruit in the state.
Right.
He's a big 6'8" guy. He's from the Peace Out Academy, which is
Right.
I don't know much about the academies. I think that's like a basketball academy.
Right.
It's in Houston. But Rodney Terry is
He's
getting
quietly but surely putting a hell of a recruiting campaign on right now.
Losing Derek Holland was not good, but Derek Holland ended up going to the pros, so there's nothing you can do about that. He's the G League, not the what is it called? The Elite, the G League Elite or G Elite, something like that.
Right. It's basically a semi-pro league, right? So they're still getting paid like $500,000 to play basketball, and honestly, like, let's be completely honest. Next year, he's probably going to get drafted somewhere high if he has a good showing. If he did anything that he did last year for Texas in this league, he's going to be just fine.
Well, what's weird is, so here's the thing. So Jaden Hardy, who the Mavs drafted, which not instead of in the second round last year, was in the G League. Was in this league. When he started this league, he was the projected number one overall pick in last year's draft.
Wow.
And he fell all the way to the second round to the Mavs. So I think it might actually hurt your stock more if you don't do well because you're playing against other professionals.
Yeah, you're playing against elite talent. No, for sure.
Yeah, the best of the best, right?
Right. I want to go back and just touch on Clemson for a second. I remember when we talked about the signing. We talked about it last week. He made the announcement. He went to Clemson, and I remember sending you a text message, and I said, I don't like Clemson in the state of Texas. The reason why I don't like Clemson in the state of Texas is because they're not coming in. They're not getting 2 stars. They're not getting 3 stars. These guys are getting 4 stars, 5 stars. They're getting big players. Anthony Hill Jr., definitely another thing to talk about. These kids, these are impactful players that are going to be impactful as freshmen on the team. I remember a couple years ago, Andrew Muckbu, who played at Austin LBJ, broke the Austin record or the AISD rushing record that was up for God knows how long. He broke that record, and then Texas was a thing. He didn't commit. He goes to Clemson. Then another kid out of Austin LBJ, I can't remember his name right now. He got an offer from Texas. He doesn't go to Clemson, but he goes to Vanderbilt. These are kids that are stud running backs. These guys are not chumps by any manner, right? These are
You say that, but look at who Texas is committing let's look at the running back position, right? Look at who Texas is committing, and then you look at who they have this year already in the back. I think running back is different, right? If you were to, I think corner is important because after this year we're young again at corner. This is the most you lose seniors this year. This is a very, very senior type team, right? With Jahdae Barron, you're losing Ryan Watts. You're losing guys, right?
Right.
I think this is really important. And you got the guys like Musa Muhammad, who's coming up this year, or Malik Muhammad. Sorry, not Musa Muhammad. Malik Muhammad.
Right.
And you've got younger guys, but I think Corian Gibson, it is a loss. I know there's some Texas fans that are like, we'll get the next one. We are out for Cody Black, who I think is going to
We're still in the hunt for that. Please.
5-star. I think he's 5-star out of Houston.
Right.
But every recruit in your backyard matters. And Sark isn't. I read an article. Sark actually isn't doing very well in the state of Texas this year.
No, he's not.
He's not recruiting well at all in the state of Texas. So the only thing that's going to turn that around is winning. He's got to win. Right. I think winning the Big 12 is the most important thing. Also, we lost Justin Williams to Georgia.
Yeah, that hurt.
That hurt. But it's kind of the same thing with Anthony Hill, right? 5-star linebacker, best linebacker in the state. I think best linebacker in the country commits to Georgia, right?
So let's talk about the kids that Sark is happening to bring into Texas. Now, he is bringing in he is bringing in like studs, right? Anthony Hill, Jatavian Sanders. These guys are studs, right? But it's like I can't remember what article I read not too long ago, but they were basically saying like if you win your state, if you recruit your state, if you're like a USC, an LSU, an Alabama, a Florida, Georgia, if you recruit and you're able to get a majority of those kids in your state to stay home and to stay at your program, you usually win.
Right.
It's a freaky stat. I remember that 05 and that 09 Texas team, majority of the guys that were on that ball club came from within the state. You got to think about Jamal Charles, Vince Young. You think about Colt McCoy, Shipley, right? Yeah. Roger,
Michael Finley,
right? Jermichael Finley. Like all of these guys are like Texas guys, right? Earl Thomas from Orange, Texas. Like these guys, the Huff guys, the Griffin boys. Like these guys are all in the state, right? And so that's really to me. I'm not knocking the other kids because that he's recruiting, because again, these are not just cream of the. These are not the low end kids. He's getting cream of the crop guys from different states. You know, you go and you get an Arch Manning. You go and you get you bring a Quinn Ewers home via transfer portal. You bring A.D. Mitchell, Houston kid. You go and get him from a national championship. He was going to be the number one receiver. Yeah. You go and you get him. You bring him in. You bring him home. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. I think a combination of getting kids from the transfer portal and winning your state is what in the end is what will get you those championships. Does it always work out that way? No, but it's just history has shown that if you recruit strong in your state, you normally win.
Yep.
You normally win. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next thing here. I think I wanted to get a little spicy in the last couple of minutes here.
Real quick, I want to address this comment real quick.
Okay, let's do it.
At Texas, 5 stars play like 3 stars from Gabriel Ruiz. Hey, Gabriel, thanks for the comment. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the comment, man.
At Texas, 5 stars play like 3 stars because previous to this year, coaches couldn't coach.
Coaches couldn't develop.
Fine, develop. You got to keep in mind, just because you're
coach, you can coach, but can you develop the kids that you have?
Just because you're a 5-star doesn't mean you're just going to automatically be a 5-star, right? Coaching matters.
Colt McCoy was not a 5-star. I believe Colt McCoy was a 3-star quarterback and almost won a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, we've had both, right? We've had 3 stars develop into really good players,
right?
We've had 5 stars bust, right? But we've also had 4 or 5 stars not play well in college, but accelerate at the NFL level. Caden Stearns is the one guy that just always sticks out. He was a 4-star safety coming into Texas. Didn't play very well. Was injured a lot. Gets on an NFL roster. Is now playing, starting safety for the Broncos.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the top 10 safeties in the league.
Yeah. We're getting talent, right? It's about developing talent, to your point. And we just until Sark, we haven't really been developing talent. Now, this is the first year. We're going to see if Sark can truly develop talent, because this is going to be the first year he's going to have. This is the first year he's going to have his guys for 2 years in a row.
Right.
So we'll see what he can do. To me, if Sark doesn't win the Big 12, the whole thing's a failure, and he's on the hot seat. Nothing to me is acceptable besides Big 12 championship.
Right. So I'm going to ask you like I do every week. If in the case that this doesn't work out in Texas's favor, and let's say we don't win the Big 12, let's say we do 9-3. What do you do?
9-3 wins the Big 12.
9-3 wins the Big 12. 9-3 doesn't get you into a playoff.
That's fine. I don't care about the playoff. You got to win the Big 12.
Okay. So what if we don't win the Big 12?
Sark's on the hot seat.
Right. Okay.
And then you're calling Urban Meyer. You're seeing who's moving to Texas. You're making phone calls.
Right.
On the back end. Right.
You're calling Art Briles.
Yeah. You're calling Art Briles. You're calling
Gary Patterson.
Hey, hey, bring Gary Patterson's been here for a year. That would actually be a really smart move.
Ooh, Gary Patterson would be
Start-
perfect.
Hey, you give good old Kirby a call.
You want to talk about you want to talk
Kirby.
about no nonsense?
Yeah.
Gary Patterson.
Listen, you start looking around because and then now you start to say, well, no, because this is Chris Del Conte's really for his first really is but again, football drives the university. So if you're not having success at football, nothing else matters.
Right.
Coach Terry can win. I mean, you got as an interim head coach, right? Terry got to the Elite Eight. Texas fans, it was cool for 3 days here. I mean, what's Stark going to do this year?
Right.
It's just the nature of the reality. We are a football.
It is the nature of the beast. The Longhorns won Big 12 championship in volleyball and the national championship.
Don't care.
Cool. Are we going to get Anthony Hill Jr. or not?
Exactly. The school, the city, the state. All we care about is football. If you're not having football success, nothing else matters. Now, if you are having football success, everything is just a cherry on top.
Right. Everything else is. So again, this was one of the lastly added topics to the show prior to us going live. And normally we would hold it until the week of college football, but I think that should be a bigger stage for us to talk about the college football playoff. Again, next week we're going to be focused on what we see at training camps and how we feel about what we've seen and so far. What we're going to talk about now is the Texas Longhorn schedule predictions. So based on the schedule, and I can go down that schedule, or if you want to, you can go down and you can tell me exactly where you feel that is going to be a trip.
Yeah.
What game do you think that we're going to win? And eventually, we don't have to talk about who we're going to see as an opponent. That doesn't have to happen. But what do you ultimately see happening with just the regular season in general?
Yeah. I'm going to flip the script on you real quick.
Okay.
Because I just had an idea that popped in my head.
Okay.
So we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. What we do is something a little bit different, and we break the schedule down.
Okay.
And we can start with the first, let's see, what is this, 11-game schedule? I think we should just do the first 3 games today. And over 4 weeks, we do 3 games at a time. Okay. Now, obviously, today will be spent. The next 10 minutes will be spent on 1 game.
Right. Because so, we can definitely do that for sure. We can make up why Rice is going to beat Texas for 30 minutes.
I don't want to make that up, but
we've done it before.
If Rice beats Texas, I'm not watching another game this year. I'm not watching another game. I'm firing Steve Sarkisian on the field. Are we at Rice? No, we're at home. That's perfect. You can go to
we're at home.
Yeah.
We're at home. But do you remember a couple years ago we did struggle against Rice? Do you remember this for like a half? You don't want to talk about it
because Tom Herman couldn't develop a moccasin. So
I almost went crazy. That was the worst half of football I had ever seen Texas play as a whole. That was absolute garbage. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't, and then for some reason, just plays just started opening up. But anyway, so we got Rice at Texas. I think that's a dub.
Yeah, easy. 65-0.
Texas at Alabama. Hold on, don't give me your thought. And then we got Wyoming at Texas. I think we both agree that's a dub.
Yeah.
So let's focus in on this Texas at Alabama, which is on September 9th at 6 p.m. That is the game, right? That is the measuring stick. That is the pendulum. That is the catalyst. That is everything that you could possibly need to propel yourself into a position for the year. I think we will personally, I think we will see the best brand of ball, the best brand of college football, and the best schemes that we will see from Sark the entire year, other than one other game that's in Dallas down the road. I personally, right now, how I feel that Texas has a really, really good shot because they're an older team. They have more experience on the offensive line, they have more experience in the secondary, and they have more experience at the quarterback, which is the most important position to have. Now, do we know that Nick Saban is a beast at finding quarterbacks that just so happen to work in the college atmosphere? Absolutely. He won a national championship with Mac Jones. Okay, we had no idea who Mac Jones is. I'm not even going to try to pretend that who he was. So with that being said, I don't think it will be a blowout, but I do, as of right now, if you said, hey, Tim, like, what do you think about this based on position, based on those positions alone, and having depth at those positions and having experience at those positions, that's where I feel that we have the biggest shot. If you think about the game last year, where did they have more experience? They had more experience at the quarterback position because that's who ended up making the play to win the game at the end of the day. So I feel like, with that being said, I feel like Texas wins that game. I don't want to give a prediction. I think we can worry about that as we get closer to the season, as we get closer to the game. We'll come up with a score. But as I feel right now, and this is again based off of gut feeling, based on the depth and the experience at the quarterback, offensive line, and skill positions on the defense, I feel like we have a better opportunity to walk out with a win this year than we did last year.
I would agree with that. I think this is really where Sark is going to either take me or he's going to lose me.
Okay.
I think I'm not going to give away scores, but I think we jump out on I think we lead by at least 2 touchdowns in every game to start the game this year.
Okay.
Every single game.
Okay.
Including Alabama. And the reason why is because Sark has shown he can prepare teams very, very well. Last year we were up 14, 17, 21 points multiple times in the first half.
Right.
What I don't
if you look at just the first half of those games alone, Texas looks like one of the best college football teams in the nation.
I think I saw a stat. If we just went off the first half scores, Texas would have been undefeated. I think something or 11 or 1 loss. I don't think they trailed any game at halftime. Except TCU, so they would have had 1 loss.
Right, TCU.
Right. And that was just a weird game, but it was a weirdly crazy defensive game. I think Texas loses 1 game next year.
Okay.
I don't think this is that game.
And I feel you. I think Texas does drop the ball 1 game, and we'll talk about it as we get later on in the season.
Yep.
It's obviously not any of these 3 teams. I just went on a 10-minute rant on why I think they're not going to lose. But I just feel like we go. I also think that Sark knows that he's I don't think his seat is hot, but I think it's a little warm. I think it's a smidge warm because, again, it was kind of based on that statement that you said earlier. Tom Herman's got all these players. He's getting all these players. He's getting the best team. He's getting the best guys in the country, but they're not producing wins on the field, big wins. Now, did Tom start out on fire? Yes, he did. Did it transition into more? No, it did not. And so you get that last second West Virginia loss. You get the mess up against Oklahoma where you're up 28 points at half.
And
And
Caleb
you
Williams, a true
lose.
freshman, comes in.
Yeah, you have a true freshman come in and he just starts running around and playing, God knows, NFL, college football, mascot football, and he's just launching the ball all over the place. And
Was that Tom Herman or was that Sark's first year?
I believe that was Herman.
I think that was Sark's first year. That was 2 years ago.
That was Sark's first year. Even more. Even right.
That
so
proves my point.
right. You're proving my point right. We can't afford, you can no longer, and I believe we talked about this the first podcast we did, and it's like that's somewhere in that locker room needs to be to finish the fight, finish something, play a whole game, because you are the best one of the best play callers in the nation. At one point in time, when you were at Alabama, you were the best play caller in the nation. You get this team, you jump out, you're beating people over the head, and you're not able to complete the full game. So I think if you don't do this, and some people expect Texas to just lay an egg. I don't see that. I think you're silly if you don't see Texas as at least being a fighter in this game. Both teams, even though there's still some young spots within Texas, but Alabama's got some talent there too. Let's not just sit on Alabama and say they're not going to win. You got a pissed off. Nick Saban is pissed right now, so that's another thing.
I would say that Texas has the better roster because of who they have in certain positions. We have the best left tackle in the game. We have the better quarterback.
Right.
I would argue
that we know of right now.
Receiver. Yeah, we have the better wide receiver. We have the better tight end. Again, the best offensive lineman. Well, we literally had the best of almost every position.
You check off the boxes. It just looks like this should be. We know it's not going to be
It's not going to be a cakewalk, but we know what we know. Let's just call defensive line a toss-up because I still don't know about our defensive line. We have the best linebacker. Jalen Ford is better than any linebacker they've got on their team. I think we have the best secondary. Like, we've got the best at pretty much every position.
Right.
So the stars are saying that we should win.
Right.
But
we don't. No.
And
in college, play a big role.
In college, coaching matters.
Right.
I hope Paul Chryst is the saving grace for Texas.
Right.
As the analyst that says, Sark, shut up, do this.
Right.
Because I've heard that he's been told to do that in the past and he did not do that. And it's cost us games. I've heard, like, last year before, there would be like often analysts saying, hey man, we should probably run the ball again. And you're like, no, it's not working. We need to pass.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm hoping Sark grows as a coach. And if he does grow as a coach, I think we're going to have a special season. But like I said, that's just how I feel. So I do think starting out 3-0, and then also this game is important because it's a potential changing of the guard game.
It is I'm glad that they scheduled it early in the season because, again, you could bounce back from the loss. You know, Alabama is not at full strength, I believe, currently right now. But, you know, you don't want to play Alabama later in the year. You want to play them as early as possible.
I don't know. I kind of hate the way non-conference scheduling works. I wish you could schedule some of these non-conference games later in the year, like the flexibility to have that.
So you're saying like in the middle of like playing, like going from Texas Tech to Alabama? That would be nuts.
That'd be nuts, but I kind of wish it worked that way.
Ooh, man.
For scheduling's sake, for like truly, if you really want to know, like if you want to know in November who the best team is, I want to see Alabama playing, you know, Southern, Eastern, Coastal Carolina.
Like they play every. Come on, man.
I want to see. I also don't want to see them play LSU because there's 6-7 games in their conference schedule. I want to see how you stack up against a Texas, right, in week 10.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
And then on a neutral field, fine, whatever. But in the NFL, you don't get to choose when you play your non-divisional games, right?
Right.
not saying the college needs to be the NFL, but it's the same. It's basically money wise, it's getting up there. You're paying your players now. You're paying them to win. So you should be able to go to a neutral site week 10 and play Texas.
Hey, I'm not knocking that. That is definitely something. Hopefully that we can ask next year at the Big 12 Media Days. We can ask.
I'm not asking them nothing at the Big 12 Media Days.
I'm sorry. SEC Media Days. My bad.
I'm not asking nothing at the Big 12 Media Days. What I think, like I said, and I think as the NCAA disseminates, as I said in week 1, I think things like this will start to be possible.
Right.
I think these conglomerates are going to start controlling things.
Right.
These little groups of people, and the NCAA will eviscerate.
That's what it's looking like more and more as the days go by. You just don't, as a Colorado, if you think about this 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we would never think that Colorado would just be like, all right, we don't want to be in the Pac-12 no more. Next year we're going to the Big 12.
Yeah.
That would never happen. And
Jim Harbaugh would have been fired for lying to the 3 years ago.
Right.
Not a 4-game suspension.
Right.
The NCAA is losing their power.
Right. Okay. Well, did you have any partying shots before we head up out of here?
Not really. Yeah, I'm just looking for fall camp. I don't know. Do we have any public practices this year? I didn't see anything.
I believe that there's one on the 2nd, which is
that's Tuesday.
So we'll figure that out. If it is, you might get some information from us from after our fall camp reactions. Instead of, hey, I don't know what we could possibly do. I don't know if we could end up there or what. But if it's open and we can get to it, I'm definitely trying to get to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
We'll see if we make it happen.
Right. So, guys, once again, we thank you guys for joining the Fan Battle Sports, Longhorn Fan Battle Sports podcast. Again, make sure that you guys follow us at Fan Battle Sports. Make sure that you follow us at Longhorn Fan Battle Twitter. Or I don't even, is it called X? Is it called Twitter? I don't know.
It's called Twitter. I ain't calling it X.
I'm not calling it X. I'm not with that, dog. You're gonna have to figure that out. Make sure that you guys again follow us on Twitter. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Every comment, feedback is always permissible. I'm definitely big on feedback. So if there's anything that we can do to make it better, please let us know, and we'll do our best to accommodate and do what we want to do. We want to make sure that we get this big. We want to get this up and coming. We're trying to get on the field. You know what I'm saying? So by you guys running up those likes and those comments, gets us closer to the field. So my name is Tim Wayne. My man Uncle Gandhi over here. We will catch you guys next week. Make sure you drink your water because it's hot outside. Watch out for those aliens and make sure you mind your business. Till Gabriel.
Hook 'em horns. OU sucks.